What's up YouTube? I'm Joe, you're watching my channel, Ink&Iron. We got a multi-tool discussion today, and this discussion is about 3 years in the making. So my first ever tool when I was 16 was this Gerber Suspension. This is the original suspension. Absolutely abused the thing. You can see the charred tips. It's all chewed up from grabbing various things that were too hard once the tips were softened by grabbing, coals off of my hookah. I was doing all kinds of irresponsible things with it, things I don't recommend to others. And honestly, I can't really recommend this tool anymore. It served me pretty well at the time, but yeah, I moved on from there. And I moved on to what was the best multi-tool at the time, according to all the reviews I could find on YouTube. And that was this here, Leatherman Surge. And I have kept this particular Surge since, oh boy, 2000 and... this thing's 6 or 7 at this point. I want to say 2015 maybe, 2016, something like that. And it is currently 2022, so that puts us at about, I think 6 years or so. You can see I've got it oiled. I finally broke it in using some diamond paste. It was stiff as all get out for a long time. Check out my video if you want to know how to get your tools super freaking smooth. Like literally this tool didn't give in to anything except for diamond paste, so highly recommended. Man, I loved carrying this tool, and it was the only tool I carried for probably 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years. And then, I decided, hey, this tool's been great, but what about other tools? What makes this one so good? And it kind of justified couching my YouTube channel on this concept of, can I find anything that's as good a multi-tool as the Leatherman Surge? And so here you go. You can see how far I've come in the last 3 years. I think the first one I got after the Surge was the free P4, and boy, what a letdown this tool was. Compared to the Surge, no competition. Compared to other medium-duty pliers-based multi-tools, it's okay. The tool set really could be so much better. The locking mechanisms are absolutely fantastic. The saw is basic, the knife is pretty basic, but it gets the job done. The scissors are okay. What else is on here? Oh yeah, secondary blade. This is actually the best tip design I've seen Leatherman do for a serrated blade. I hope they keep this sort of almost chisel, almost scraper style tip. Having a nice flat portion is really good for like getting under stickers or residue and stuff like that. So yeah, that was a pretty good design. I mean, you gotta love the magnetic architecture that lets you have this super smooth action. I think that's really commendable. I just think the tool set was a pretty weak offering here. I mean, what is this thing? It's not a screwdriver. It's sort of a scraper pry thing, maybe. This is okay, the Phillips head bottle opener, but it's 2-dimensional Phillips, and a lot of these tools have 3-dimensional, which is, it's superior once you finally feel the difference. Crap file. Depth gauge for some reason. It's just an excuse to turn a screwdriver tip shaped thing into a second tool. You can see this thing's warped a little bit from use. This is a sewing awl, I guess. It's really pretty crap at penetrating anything. This can opener, surprisingly good. Check out my can opener review. I was surprised at how this performed. It's a very refined design and works. So yeah, it was all right. I like that it comes with a pocket clip, but this thing did not live up to the hype. And being more expensive than the Leatherman Surge, no way. I would not recommend it over the Surge. And that is pretty much the story with everything you see here. Unfortunately, through all my testing, I was like, wow, yeah, really, the Surge is the best possible thing. And you could stop the video right here if you don't want to hear about any of these other tools. Just go get yourself a Leatherman Surge and don't look back. I looked back, and you know what? It wasn't worth it. But to elaborate a little bit more on what you get with the Leatherman Surge, I think last time I checked it was like $130 US, And you get the Surge, you get a sheath, and you get the, I think you can also get a bit kit for that. You know, don't quote me, I'll put it down here, the exact pricing as of today, which is like late July of 2022. But that's just a screaming deal compared to most of the stuff you see here. The Gerber Dual Force is a pretty good deal on its own. It tries to address some of the problems of not having a big enough, you know, splay to handle ratio on your pliers. And what I mean by that is, check it out. I think you get this about like 80 bucks at Knife Center, or at least you could back when they were available. So you can see the handle splay required to fit the same sort of nut. The Dual Force is doing better because its handles are very long. Plus, it has this secondary position. So with the handles closed, I have to splay my Surge out to here in order to grip it. And you can see how wide that is to try and get your hands around and actually work the tool. So Dual Force has some good things going for it. It is quite a large tool if you're looking for that kind of thing. But for me, it's just not a suitable replacement. It doesn't have enough other good tools. I also find it to jam up when I'm trying to close the freaking thing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. No one has described it to me yet. But they're like, yeah, you got to shift the plier head. I'm like, dude, I am. And then it pulls itself back out. The knife blade is pretty reasonable on this thing. You know, I would say it puts it in direct competition with the Surge, but it's, you know, just that. It's direct competition. It's not any better, really. It's not any worse. It's just pretty much the same. Yeah, I think what you get with the Surge is just superior to all these other tools. You know, I hate to put it that bluntly. Like, this center drive feature is pretty nice on the Dual Force. It's good on the center drive as well. But I don't use a driver that much. If you're a driver heavy type person and you need that kind of thing, yeah, give these a shot. You know, try someone else's out if you can manage. Don't pay full price for anything if you can manage. And the only reason I suggest going to Leatherman or any of the manufacturers directly is so that your warranty is good and solid. But as far as Leatherman's concerned, if you're the first one to own the tool, like you buy it at Bass Pro Shop and you're the first owner, you have full possession of the warranty. So, you know, that's a pretty good deal. Even the closest competitor from the Leatherman line, I think, is probably the Wave series. And yeah, using the Wave is really good. I like the compact nature of it. If you're looking for a lighter duty tool, this is pretty comparable to the Wave. However, it doesn't quite get all the way there. And really the kicker for me is this, the T-shank tool exchanger, right? So I've got a file, a diamond file sharpener basically on this side, and a file, comes with an edge file as well on there. You can swap this out for a saw, and you can also swap this out for literally any T-shank tool. So anything that fits in like a jigsaw, you can throw into this handle, and then you've got a nice handle to work it manually. And that, like, being able to remove this sharpener and sharpen all the other tools on the Surge, or literally any of these, gives it a huge advantage for me and my particular use case. I am almost always carrying a knife or, you know, my Leatherman Surge, and having a sharpener on hand is invaluable to me. I love it. Some people love the saw. I'm not a big saw guy. I'm a very, like, urban environment and stay-at-home kind of guy. So yeah, sharpening comes in handy a lot more for me. But that removable file, for me, in my particular use, has put this tool way above all these others. Not to mention the pliers have never seized up on me, right? Having two blades, having that redundancy is really nice. The serrated blade for cutting like coarse material. If I'm cutting rope all day, that serrated blade comes in handy. If my plane edge gets dull and I need to sharpen it, I whip out the serrated blade and start using that. Even the scissors are pretty good. They're not the greatest scissors, but I have trimmed, you know, my beard now and then, or, you know, my eyebrows. I'm starting to get to that age. But yeah, now that this Surge is super smooth, there's nothing in my collection that beats it. And yeah, that's really the point I'm trying to make. There's all kinds of decent tools. Like, if I had to pick 3 that are really worth the time and the money, I would say probably, you know, the Surge, clearly. If I had to pick 3 others, though, I do like the Wave and Charge series. If you're going for compact, I'd probably recommend the Charge. This Charge TTI has a really good feel to it. The handles are super comfortable. It is almost as good as the Surge, but not quite. Mine is slightly broken, so I have to close it so you know, gently. But the S30V blade on the premium edition here is really nice. I like the gut hook on here. It does need a little bit of a sharpening. This one's used. But yeah, pretty good. So I'd say the Charge is worth looking at. Skip the P4 and the P2, really. Like if you're trying to do serious work with it, don't do that. If you're an office carry sort of person, maybe consider it. But yeah, for me, it's a no-go. The Victorinox. This is the Swisstool Spirit X. The Spirit X, and this is the like MBS version or something. It's like the one-handed blade. I love this version. Comes with a really nice sheath for the not one-handed version. Let me show you. Here's the sheath for that. This is the best multi-tool sheath in my opinion. I know it's Velcro, but like just look how pretty this tool is, and everything's super well made. Everything comes out very easily. You have very time-tested tools on here and a one-handed release mechanism for a lot of them. So yeah, it's a pretty tough contender. Really the thing that sets it back is the price point. This is like, you know, brand new kit for this is I think 160 USD, and that's pretty pricey. Although in terms of a medium-sized tool, I think it's pretty competitive with the Surge. I've found myself grabbing this on days where I didn't need something quite as robust as the Surge. So definitely recommend the Swisstool Spirit X specifically, although the regular Swisstool Spirit is also a pretty good tool. On the cheaper end of things, I did get the updated Gerber Suspension NXT. This is a bit better than the original suspension that I was telling you about was my first tool. I will say the handles are a little bit wide, but they are spring-loaded. It's pretty user-friendly if it's your first tool. This pocket clip is okay. It's not really adjustable. It is easy to spring out because it is so long and flimsy. So that could be better. The tools were really challenging to get out and continue to be pretty challenging to get out. So yeah, in terms of fit and finish, it's not amazing, but the price point of I think it's about 45 bucks. You may be able to get it cheaper, and that's US dollars. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal. The cutters, you can see, don't bypass. They just sort of close next to each other and like sort of kiss. That's not great. It makes it a pretty crap cutter. So that's not highly recommended. If you're gonna go budget, really what I'd recommend in the $40 price range, Ozark Multiforce. Yeah, crazy that this Walmart branded overseas produced tool is such a heavy hitter at its particular price point, but I mean, dude, this is essentially a budget version of the Wave, and I mean that very seriously, having used both. This is a strong contender. And further, the pivot points for the tools are not here, they're out here, which is a great design. Makes it really hard to like pinch yourself with this tool. And the $40 price point and the return policy at Walmart, they're unbeatable. They are unbeatable. You mess this thing up doing damn near anything, and you can take it back to Walmart and they'll swap it out for you. The tool liners are a little bit thin, but for 40 bucks, you get that, you know, imitation of the Leatherman style tool with this diamond, the third edge file here, and the double cut file on the backside. It's pretty good. It's pretty dang good. It's really worth 40 bucks. It is worth way more than 40 bucks if I'm being honest. Plus, it has this little driver in here, which is pretty clutch. Like, look at this little thing. Now, granted, you have to use bits that are like this, double-ended with the little ball retainer. But you can, if you go check out Max Level EDC's channel, he'll show you multiple tools that have a whole bit set that can swap in and out of this thing, and that gives you all kind of capabilities. And then you don't have to buy a proprietary bit set. Then you get 2 tools that can use the same bit set, which is pretty dope. What else is on here? Can opener. I don't know if I've tested this one. I don't think so. It looks pretty flawless. But this is imitating the Leatherman style can opener, and I haven't had any problems with that particular style. Like I said, I haven't tried this one specifically, but I mean, every tool on here basically punches above its weight class. It's really good, and you can see how smooth the operation is. Like, the tools clump a little bit, but holy crap, like, they're pretty good, guys. For 40 bucks, don't go anywhere else, honestly. Go ahead and try the Ozark tool, or Ozark Trail rather, Multiforce. It's worth your time. It's worth your dollars. And that return policy just really takes it up a notch, in my opinion. Yeah, what else do I want to say? Schrade Tough. You can see my sort of mini review on this thing. It's all right. It feels clunkier than the rest of these. I wouldn't really highly recommend it, although if you got nothing else in your area, it'll do okay. It'll probably do better than my original Gerber Suspension, honestly. It's got more tools. The lock mechanism's a little funny on it because it locks out and then you have to like depress a tool on the handle to get it to release. So that's a little strange. Also, it looks kind of funky, huh? Like, it makes it really wide when it's sort of sitting in the sheath. Mine didn't come with a sheath either, so mine just kind of hangs out like that. Lets it all hang out, if you will. So if you're in a really dirty shop environment, this might be an issue, unless you remember to put it face down every time, you know. Make sure the logo's facing up so that you're not getting grinder dust and sanding dust and, you know, God knows what else in your tool. Yeah, what else, guys? What else? This is a big pile of tools that I've tested gradually over the years, some much more than others because they were capable. SOG, SOG, I went with their like top tier tool. This is the Poweraccess Deluxe. This tool has a couple of good points, and then the rest of it is kind of shoddy. The cutters do bypass, which is great, and they have double the leverage of a similar sized tool because of this geared compound action. You can see when I splay them really wide, the tool's really not that far open. That's because you get twice as much leverage, but you also have to splay the handle twice as much for the same amount of jaw opening. So a little bit of a trade-off there. The tool is pretty smooth. I think you can almost fling this one out. Yeah, almost. It's not, you know, it's not a P4 or a P2, but it's pretty smooth, and, you know, arguably it's one-handed operable. Yeah, these, God, it's catching my thumb a little bit. This saw is so narrow. These opening holes are not amazing. The lockout on the first one that I got of this, like, I used the blade and I was literally able to like push it back and fail the lock bar every time I used it, like even just cutting tape. You can see I posted a video about it. So yeah, I'm not sure about the long-term reliability. I'm not sure about the quality control coming out of SOG's factories. Sorry, SOG's factories. They want to go by SOG. The micro driver is kind of cool, but that doesn't redeem the rest of the tool set. They're all real short. They're all not amazing to try and pick out with your nails. This is a bottle opener. There's a full Phillips, but it's a Phillips #1, so it's pretty small. The can opener, did I use this? I think I did. Go check on my can opener review. I don't remember how well this did. Not super well, if I recall. The file, like, look at, why would you put a hole in a file? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm filing something like a nail or something, and I mean like a steel nail, it can get snagged in there and get hung up. So that's not amazing. I don't particularly like that. I think you could have just gotten away with the nail nick up here. Not sure what this is about. This is a really terrible point to try and grab a tool and fish it out. So not sure what that's about. Just questionable design features. It does have like a driver function, right? You can slip a thing on here. I think I've got it over here. here you go. You can slip, man, these things are so hard to get out of this retainer. It's not amazing. So you slip this over, and then you've got a full set of just normal 1/4 inch bits, which is pretty cool. I like the fact that it takes normal bits. However, look at this. Look at all this slop, right? That is not confidence inspiring when you're trying to drive stuff with this tool. However, it does have the option of splaying this out, right, and getting more torque on something. That's all right. You know, I have mixed feelings about this driver in general. Oh, it does have this 90-degree position as well, which really gives you a ton of leverage, although at that point you're just going to stress out the locking system on here, which, like I said, is kind of questionable. So SOG, I would say give them a miss. They want to be competitive, but I think the other tool manufacturers have outpaced them. Like even Gerber at this point is outpacing SOG's design specifications and quality control. And that's saying something, because Gerber's designs sometimes are a little bit fishy. What else? What haven't I talked about? Roxon. This is a Chinese brand, I believe. Might be Taiwanese. Not 100% sure. Has a glass breaker for some reason. The cap lifter's pretty good. The bottle opener does work. So kind of puts it in more of like a Victorinox, you know, Swiss Army knife type feel. This file's not great. You don't have good access. They put a screwdriver at the tip for some reason. I don't think that's ever really called for. I think a file's a useful enough tool on its own. The saw I haven't tested. It does lock up. Like this thing it's kind of strange. You can see how chunky the handle is when you deploy these pliers. It's all right. It's kind of doing a cheap imitation of, you know, American designed tools, which I get. You know, you save a lot of time and energy. And plus, these US companies don't seem to be applying for patents in China. And that would be the key to not having the Chinese be able to copy your design. Enough said. Okay, I get that you're saving money, but then you don't get to come back and be like, they're stealing our design. It's like, well, legally in their country, there's no ramifications. So, you know, if you don't play by the rules, you can't expect others to as well. One thing I don't like about this, trying to access the scissors, you have to open up this handle and then access the scissors. And these are also not as cool as they look. Like, I like they're spring-loaded. I like the large size because it's more comfortable. But they're not particularly better at cutting than, you know, the Surge scissors or the Wave scissors. You do get more real estate, so if you're cutting thin material, sure, you know, paper, cardstock, stuff like that, sure, these will do that all day. But, you know, anything more than like a thin leather is going to give you real problems. All these side tools, they're not amazing. You do have centimeters on this side. I don't think you have inches anywhere on here. I think that makes sense. Honestly, metric is way more simple than standard imperial units. You know, I said it. I've worked at a company that used metric, and it was way simpler. Americans are just very resistant to it for I don't know what reason. I don't like change, you know, whatever. The knife is not super sharp, not ground particularly well. You can see a little bit of a smile here on the edge. So yeah, Roxon, this is one of their better tools. They have updated this now, I think, but it's okay. It sort of feels like SOG quality to me a little bit. Sort of, you know, has a little bit of an Ozark Trail feeling that overseas produced, like we made the metal a little bit thinner and our, you know, quality control not quite as good. But, you know, it represents a savings, not for the SOG, but for these two tools. But again, I would go with the Ozark Trail if you're going to go overseas produced budget tool. I'd definitely go Multiforce on that one. Leatherman's cheaper offerings, and not even that much cheaper. This is like a $70 tool, the Sidekick. This thing's kind of a POS. Like, if you cut anything with these jaws, this spring action stops immediately. You can see like my mini initial review of this thing. And then, you know, you get a pocket clip, you get like sort of a rinky-dink saw. It's really flexible. which does not bode well for keeping the saw from binding. The knife blade is okay. Yeah, and there's not a whole lot to offer besides those two tools. So yeah, there are some internal tools. Let me see here. Tiny can opener, I haven't tested this one. Tiny file and depth gauge. The serrated blade's okay. It's pretty sharp, but it's a little short, which is kind of disappointing. Yeah, two-dimensional Phillips and a flathead driver or slotted screwdriver. Oh, there you go. You can see I pressed it down too hard, so it doesn't want to spring open. Yeah, this plier head's pretty pathetic. It reminds me of the first Leatherman Free P4 plier head that I got, where I cut like one thing and it just froze solid. Yeah, Leatherman's been having issues with their plier heads in the last few years. But like for $30 more, you can get a Wave, and you should. Or for $30 less, you get the Multiforce, and you should. Both of these options are better than this one. Gerber center drive. It's aight, you know, it's kind of fun. It's fidgety. These cutters are pretty garbage from all the reviews that I've seen. I haven't properly tested mine. A part of the reason is because I've heard that they're garbage. If they are tungsten carbide as advertised, they're going to be brittle. They are going to be more brittle than steel because they're not steel, because they're not malleable, because they're not designed to resist shock forces like steel is. Okay, so it makes sense that they break easily. The file, this is arguably one of the best files that Gerber's made. You know, that's ignoring, if we ignore the one on here, this dual force file is an absolute unit, right? It's huge. Although in terms of surface area, about the same as this guy, but this chisel on the end of the dual force is actually pretty sweet. Go check out my initial review of the dual force if you want to see an actually usable multi-tool file in action. But this one's pretty good. This one is pretty good. Do I wish it was detachable? Of course. You know, Leatherman really spoiled me for that. And no edge file. But as far as Gerber's tools, sometimes they really shirk the file, and it's a huge disappointment they didn't do that on this tool. They do have this little pry bar, you know, little mini pry and bottle opener. It's an okay tool. It's not bad. This awl, you're not going to be sewing with this thing, but oh my god, is it sharp. It is incredibly freaking sharp, and yeah, you can really stab into some stuff with that. Plastic, no problem. I've also stabbed into aluminum and thin steel with that, and it's pretty good. Keep an extra bit on this side, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, center drive is okay. If I needed one-handed pliers more often than I do, this would probably have been more handy. The pivots are not well tuned on this thing, although you do get a sizable knife blade. But again, I would just put it in competition with the Surge in terms of its knife blade and not, you know, any better. The center drive mechanism, exactly the same as you get on the dual force. Honestly, I think bang for your buck between the center drive and the dual force, probably go dual force, I would say. Center drive has never really spoken to me that much. But you know, your mileage may vary. Go watch some more reviews. Go, again, try somebody's, you know, if you know somebody with that tool, ask them to borrow it for a day or two. Like, just get your hands on the stuff. That's the whole impetus here. Why I started collecting tools is because I wanted to get my hands on them and see if they were really better or worse than the Surge. And turns out, in my experience, they are not as good as the Surge. Not that they're all bad tools, but they're just not what I'm looking for, you know? Here's the Leatherman Kick. Yeah, the Kick. Couldn't remember if it was a kick or a blast. I do like this injection molded FRN, this like fiber reinforced nylon stuff. It makes for a really comfortable grip, even though this thing's like wide open. Normally, if this were steel, this would be biting into my hand, but I can really clamp down on this thing. So yeah, I like that. The pocket clip is off of a different tool. The Leatherman side clip or something. Somebody told me on Reddit, I think, or maybe in my YouTube comments. Yeah, this series is all right. As far as mid-duty tools, it's okay. You do have to open up the pliers to access the tools, which is not a favorite trait of mine. I like outboard tools, so to speak. But it's all right. I think it's a little more useful than the original Leatherman PST here, although the PST has kind of a vintage look that's hard to find anymore. This is one of the throwback versions. This is a 90s era replica of the original Leatherman tool. The original file was really good. Small screwdriver, a little fully dimensioned but number 1 or maybe a number 0 Phillips crosshead driver on there. Here's the classic can opener, and I'm glad that the Surge has retained that sort of can opener design. The knife blade is really nice on here. You can see the hollow grind and very thin profile. The drop point means this point is a little more accessible than if it were just a straight back. This small awl is okay. It's not particularly sharp. You can't do any, sewing, stitching with it, emergency repair type stuff. And then 2 flatheads, which of course the original Leatherman would have more flatheads than anyone really needs. Maybe it's just me, guys, but I find like 1 flathead and 1 Phillips driver is plenty for me. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm totally off base, but like I said, I'm in a suburban, urban environment, and yeah, there you go. So that's been my experience in a nutshell. Thanks for sticking in there if you made it this far in the video. Yeah, the Leatherman Surge, I just love it. I just love it. And when I need a multi-tool and I don't know what I'm encountering that day, I'm grabbing the Surge just because this tool set has served me so reliably over the years. A few criticisms about the Surge. I don't particularly like this 2-dimensional bit design, but it has served me okay. The can opener, remarkably good. Go check out my can opener video for that. The awl is badass. You can stab this into anything you want and it won't quit. Could I definitely use something other than flatheads on here? 1000%, especially because you gave me a bit exchanger on the other side. Like, why? Why, Leatherman? Why? Give me a small, I don't know, a chisel or a scraper or hell, a interchangeable flint and steel that I can spark with the file that I can take off and spark with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like a ferrocerium rod would go really great in here. I don't know. I think you got tons of options. I think this platform needs to combine with the free series, the magnetic architecture, and then you're really going to have a stunning next generation multi-tool if you can pull that off. The replaceable cutters have been a fan favorite. I have not worn mine out, but I do want to do a pliers test, probably because I'm going to be unloading some of these other tools to eBay, just because I just like the Surge, guys. I can't deny it. So yeah, if you think I'm off base, let me know. If one of these tools is your favorite, let me know. But yeah, highly recommended tools from this loadout right here. Love the Surge. I love carrying the Victorinox Swisstool Spirit MX. Gerber Dual Force I have used a couple times. It's all right. In terms of Gerber's tools, probably go with this one if you need a big one. It also stores 2 extra bits. Forgot to mention that. So again, if you're heavy into drivers, that one's good. Leatherman Wave, pretty serviceable if you're I like to carry my tool in my jeans pocket kind of person, or in a bag that you carry every day, or maybe you're rocking the bum bag, the fanny pack, whatever you want to call it. This would be a pretty good addition to that. Although you could save some money and go with the Multiforce. $40. I mean, what an absolute deal. Yeah, nah, free series hasn't really impressed me. Gerber Suspension, again, Ozark Trail. And if you want to go with the classics, you can get these for cheap on eBay. But in terms of usability, yeah, Surge, Swisstool. The Wave is pretty good. The Multiforce is a savings compared to the Wave and has almost the same functionality. So yeah, there you go. That's my summary. Thanks for sticking in there. Thanks for watching the whole ramble if you've seen it this far. Yeah, like I said, some of these tools are going to go on eBay unless you made it this far in the video and you're like, hey, I'd really like to buy this tool off of you. A lot of these do come with sheaths, and you know, I showed you the SOG bit set. I still have all the bit sets that these tools actually came with, so let me know if you want to make me an offer. Slide into my comments and make me an offer on something. I'm looking to get rid of some stuff. Just got laid off from work again, so yeah, I could use the cash. And also I could use a less heavy drawer full of tools that don't get enough use because I'm always grabbing my Surge. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking in with the ramble. Go get yourself a Leatherman Surge if you've been undecided on what tool to buy. Because, yeah, I watched all the reviews for like 3 years and then bought a Surge and then went back and did my own testing for 3 years. And it's the Surge. Just get the Surge. As of 2022, summer 2022, the Surge is still the best dang multi-tool you can get your hands on. If you got the money for it, go for it. If you don't have the money for it, grab an Ozark Trail Multiforce. It's that simple. All right, thanks for sticking in there. Appreciate you. Like, sub, do the things, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.